Welcome to How to ABL. Today is Open Day Fracture Day. It is 8/26/2023. I'm going to really quick talk about the rotation, then I'm going to give you an example of that. So if you're more interested in the rotation, you can get it at the beginning. After I'm done doing a run, I'll go and explain and add some additional information. So I'm basically running Jean Grey with a Rage, and I'm pretty much spamming the whole time. All of her skills are basically instantly cancelable, including her 6. However, it is recommended that you do a mild delay on 5, 3, and 1. Not a full second, just a little bit of a delay, and that will actually help her do some more damage. Like on the 1, you want to wait till she throws the energy or the fire or whatever she's throwing out there. I have talked to other people with rotations, and they recommend letting 2 play out if there's no mobs around. So you got to be aware of if there's mobs around or not when you're letting 2 play out, because it does move you around. Let me go ahead and show you it in action, and then we will talk about more information afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to go right in, switch to Jean Grey, come up. What I like to do is a 4, 2, 1 slight delay, 3 slight delay, 5 slight delay. 7 as soon as it's ready. Again, I'm going to do 2 in the 1, 4. I'm pretty much using them as soon as they're ready and canceling them, other than letting a slight delay. 7, 6. So every other time 7 is ready, you can do a 6 with it, and then you'll use 7 by itself. Now, she charges up quick enough. Now, I can't pop the 7 here because I'm talking. Let me make sure I'm grabbing those orbs. So you do want to cancel here. As soon as he raises his sword, you can hit 7 pretty much right away. And yeah, you don't have to wait for the wings to pop on 6. A lot of people say that as misinformation because her older uniforms, you did have to wait for that. You don't have to wait for that for the new ones. All right. Pay attention to those orbs. Look for that purple beam and make sure you pick it up. I was able to get it because it fell on top of me. All right. And I don't care what's ready. I'm just going to use it. And like I said, just a slight delay and not instant cancel on some of these. But as you can see, I'm basically spamming the skills. And this is how you play her. All right. There's the last orb. Let's get that Oathern Force. Okay. My 7 and 6 got separated because I wasn't able to do my 7 when he jumped center. It's fine. It's not going to break anything. As you can see, I'm using Deadpool for cancel. We'll talk about that a little bit after I do this run. All right, that orb should be dropping any second here, so I'm going to slow down a little bit. Make sure you get those orbs. Those are critical in ABL. All right, score is looking pretty good. Jean is definitely my heaviest scorer in ABL. I don't really worry too much about saving the 7. When he jumps to the center, because of how spammy she is, as soon as she's targetable, she'll charge that 7 back up. I'm going to put it right here towards the beginning. You see the cancel gets in. Once he raises that sword, that's my time for when I typically use that 7. Just saving it for half a second if he is in center and it's time to cancel. You only need to cancel twice, so it's not too bad. There's an orb. Let's go ahead and go and get that orb. All right, so far so good. And that Oathern Force, when you get all 4 of those orbs, your score really skyrocket with that. Since this is a spam character, I'm not really going to shout out every time I click a button. You can kind of see it. Hopefully my head's out of the way enough so you can realize how quickly I'm canceling some of these skills, where some of the other ones I'm letting them play out a little bit more. But by spamming these skills, you can keep charging up that 6 and using that 6 over and over again, which I feel like is important to score as much as you can. All right. This is actually a pretty low score. I wonder if it has to do with the striker. Usually I get a little bit closer to 10 million. 9.1 million is not the end of the world, especially for my account. So now we're going to talk about some of the things with my account, some of the decisions I made, and some alternatives. So I like to write down my score and keep track of it. So 9122560. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about my account, where it's at, and some recommendations that I have. So if you're playing ABL, you're probably at this point a veteran player, at least experienced enough that you should know some of the information, so I'm going to try to keep it mildly high level. With cards, Pierce is incredibly important, so if you're getting into ABL for the first time, you want that to be 25%. I, unfortunately, have been working on re-rolling my cards, so I'm stuck at 16% right now, but if you can get 25%, your score will go up a lot. Remember, your attack stats don't cap, so you can put as much as you want into those. With X swords, I'm going to start showing my X swords now in my videos. Here are some of the effects that I'm getting from my X swords. All right. So that's pretty much why I'm scoring what I'm doing. Let me show you my character build. So Jean Grey absolutely has to have her Dark Phoenix uniform. The rotation that I'm showing, which is not much of a rotation, more of spam, works for Dark Phoenix, and it's definitely her best uniform. Without it, she is not going to score anywhere near as high with other characters, even on open day. With this in mind, when you're doing the Dark Phoenix uniform, you want her to be tier 4, and you want her to either have a Rage, Judgment, or Anger proc. In my opinion, especially for ABL, talking to meta veterans, you are going to get the most usage of Rage when it comes to ABL. So any ABL character, Rage is better than Judgment, even if they're elemental like Jean. That at least seems to be the trend. Is it possible that that's not correct? Possibly. So I've actually been fortunate, and I was able to roll a brilliant CTP of Judgment, and in my opinion, Jean Grey is absolutely worthy of one of my brilliant rages. You do want to try to get it rolled up if you can. I don't have a lot of extra materials to do reroll on brilliant anything, but specifically CTP of Rage. So I do have a 1.2%. It is enraged, which I find to be better than the all attack. Artifact, she does not have her own artifact. She has an order artifact, which is a +7. It's a 3-star. She has a mythic uniform. Uniform options, in case you are wondering, it is Blade Vampire Slayer, Maya Lopez Marvel Studios Hawkeye, Professor X Classic, Gilgamesh Marvel Studios Eternals, and Scarlet Witch Marvel Studios WandaVision. With some of her other stuff here, I tend to feel like Overdrive is her best attack set. I usually recommend any attack set. Overdrive, I think, is the best. And as always with ISO 8, you want them to be 6 stars with red stars. For type enhancement, I try to get it up as high as I can. For the Striker today, it's specifically Deadpool. So in order to cancel, you have to have that Fracture for today. Deadpool with his pink uniform is the only option for that, unless you have other characters. Gambit does it as well if you don't have this uniform. But you're basically going to look here at the bottom, and if you see the word Fracture, you can use that for canceling, since she doesn't have her own cancel. Odin's Blessings are good. Amplifying all of her skills is also good. If you're going to equip Uru, please make it at least 5-star, if not more, especially if you're investing in Jean Grey, because of how powerful she is. Here's her overall details. I like to try to cap, if I can, attack speed, crit rate, crit damage, ignore defense, cooldown, and dodge. I have most of this cap. I could use a little bit more attack speed. And, of course, I'm trying to get her energy attack as high as I can. It's at 97,000. So if you're curious what character uses, you can see it right here. She's an energy attacker. Let's talk about teams and alternatives. All right, so if I go back to, let's see, since it's already done, Alliance Battle. So the team I ended up doing is I'm using Ghost Panther. Ghost Panther has an insight on him. What he does is a couple things for your Jean Grey specifically. It is going to give 30% increased fire damage by the leadership. But if you go over here, you also have all allies getting 50%. So that is 80% buff to her fire damage. And he has one of the best support abilities in the game, which is damage dealt. So 45% increase of damage dealt to supervillains as well. And as I'd mentioned, I also gave him an insight. In my opinion, Dazzler is probably the best mutant support character in the game, because again, that damage dealt, and she does 65% increase damage dealt. Now, she only applies to mutants, so you need to keep in mind that if you go to your character, and if you go to details, on the left-hand side here, allies needs to say mutant, or Dazzler does nothing for them. There are some characters that you would assume are mutants that are not, such as, I believe, Quicksilver is not actually a mutant. So even though he's supposed to be, and I think he's up here, yeah, he's right here. So if I go to details, you'll see allies as other. So Dazzler does not affect Quicksilver. So keep that in mind when you're trying to pick proper supports. Make sure you know who they affect if it's a niche type of support. So again, this is the best team in my opinion. They're all alternatives. For example, Magneto does a phenomenal job today with his leadership, someone like Dazzler. It's important to have an insight on at least one of your characters. I have the insight on Ghost Panther. Dazzler does not have the insight, but definitely worth putting it on either one. I feel like Ghost Panther is usable on more days, and I have a insight on my Polaris, so I don't need one on my Dazzler as well. Because any day Dazzler's used, there's usually another support with an insight. Dr. Octopus with this uniform is a viable option. Odin, if you can get him to a tier 4, is a viable option for today. Thanos, if you get him to tier 4 with his Harvester uniform, is a viable option for today. There's quite a few since it's open day. Luna Snow is probably your best option. If you have a tier 4 Luna Snow, she is going to crush all the competition if you have her latest uniform and a rage on her. Unfortunately, I do not have her at tier 4 yet, so I ended up opting for my Jean Grey instead. So, yep, that's about the best I can do for right now, even though I typically score a little bit closer to 10 million, so I am going to run this again. 9 million is still nothing to scoff at, in my opinion. So there you go. That's my additional information. If you found this helpful at all, consider thumb upping and putting comments below. And I will catch you in the next one. May your ABL scores be as high as possible.